Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's new Claims Service Model webinar. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. We've taken a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface. You should see something that looks like this on your own computer desktop in the upper right corner. You're listening in using your computer speaker system by default. If for any reason you would like to change your selection, you can do so by accessing your audio pane in your control panel. If you are experiencing a poor internet connection, we suggest that you select telephone and dial in using the phone number displayed. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. I would now like to introduce Zoe Wang from icare.
Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, which has been organised with the help of the New South Wales Business Chamber. My name is Zoe Wang, and I'm the Specialist Support Manager in Return to Work and Support here at icare. I specifically look after the more complex end of the claims spectrum, including fatalities, complex injuries, psychological injury claims are all looked after me and my team. I have 18 years experience within workers insurance, and it's my pleasure to be speaking with you today. With me is Simone Witschke, Project Lead at EML.
Hi everyone, I'm Simone. I've been at EML for 13 years, working in both operational and technical roles, projects and change, risk management and contract management. Zoe and I are very happy to be sitting here today with you to share knowledge and to help you get ready for 1 January 2018.
Thanks, Sim. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live, and recognise the continuing connection to land, water and community. I pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to welcome you. icare has been engaging closely with the New South Wales Business Chamber for the past year, and we are pleased that you have joined us today to learn more about the changes that are taking place on the 1st of January. You are all members of the Business Chamber, and while you may be aware that EML will be your new claims provider for 2018, you may not be aware of the changes that icare and EML are making together to improve claims management for you and your workers. For those of you listening who aren't quite sure who icare is, until 2015, regulators and operators worked together in the workers' insurance system and were part of the Department of Finance, Services and Innovation. Operational experiences and stakeholder feedback highlighted challenges under this structure, and reform was introduced to align responsibilities to separate organisations with clear functions. Recommendations to embark on fundamental structural changes and enable capability alignment and build resulted in the establishment of a single state insurance agency, Insurance and Care New South Wales, also known as icare, which you can see to the left of the screen. A single insurance regulatory authority, the State Insurance Regulatory Authority, also known as SIRA, and a standalone work health and safety regulator, which is Safe Work New South Wales. SIRA is now responsible for things like regulations, recommendations to Parliament on legislative change, and things like wage audits and policy and the oversight of insurers, including icare. icare now delivers all insurance and care services, and we have scheme agents such as EML acting on our behalf to manage claims. We provide insurance and care for the people of New South Wales and exist to protect our state's health, wealth and heritage. We're here to support the physical and mental well-being of more than 3.4 million workers, as well as motorists and builders in New South Wales. We've paid $1.7 billion in benefits, medical expenses and return to work support to injured workers. We also insure everything from the Sydney Harbour Bridge and Opera House to everyone who travels on any road in New South Wales. And of course, we're there for the 288,000 businesses in New South Wales, committed to providing you with world-class services, including simple and affordable insurance, return to work solutions, and care for people who've been injured in the workplace. So as I said before, you may not be across what's happening from the 1st of January, other than that all new claims will be handled by EML. You will be aware that your workers' insurance policy is no longer held with your old scheme agent, but from 1st of January 2018, all policies for employers in New South Wales will be held directly with icare. Our focus today is on the claims side of things. Any claims that began prior to the 1st of January 2018 will continue to be managed by your current scheme agent. This includes Allianz, EML and GIO. All new claims from the 1st of January will be managed by EML in a new claims framework that looks to provide the best service to you and your injured workers. icare's Net Promoter Score program is the voice of our customer, and it provides us with valuable insights that have driven our change and informed the design of the new model. These insights from our customers reinforce that they want a transparent claim service that provides support, empowerment and transparency. They want the experience to be simple, empathetic and consistent, regardless of the complexity of their claim or the circumstances of their workplace. icare has the opportunity to break out of what has been a cycle of adversarial service delivery to workers and employers with a new service model which empowers customers. It is focusing on supporting the needs of our customers as they recover and return to work, and also as they support workers to recover and return to work in their workplace. By focusing on personal and physical needs and diversifying the contact channels, a tailored experience can be delivered.
Thanks, Ollie. Since the new service model was announced earlier this year, icare and EML have executed a range of internal and external activities to ensure that we're ready for 1 January. Our readiness for our employers and injured workers is what has been driving us, particularly in these last 2 quarters. We've commenced broker and employer consultations, starting with workshops in July. We've presented the new claims model to the New South Wales Business Chamber Work Health and Safety Committee, began our recruitment and training with the first couple of intakes of new employees. And with that, we've had our 3rd lot of employees, and the new organisation really has a distinct buzz about it as they train all to get ready for 1 January. We've been training our employees with a range of initiatives and communications, all focused on providing the best support for all of our customers. We're racing towards January 1st, which for you represents a simple, transparent, empathetic and consistent customer experience.
Throughout our consultation with employers over the past 6 months or so, we've identified a number of consistent themes that continue to hold our employers' interest. We've grouped these into 3 chapters, and we aim to spend around 15 to 20 minutes on each one. At the beginning of each chapter, we'll answer a couple of very frequently asked questions, and then we'll open the floor to you. Please go ahead and start sending in your questions, as we'll be organising them as we go. Today, we won't be answering questions on things like underwriting and premiums, or topics relating to existing claims, including the application of Section 39 and the impact that this will have. This is so we can maximise the time we spend discussing new claims.
So we're going to start by looking at the claims journey and then review some questions relating to lodgement, triage, liability and approvals. We're going to go into detail with each of these elements throughout the webinar, but at a high level, I'd really like to talk you through some of the simplified parts of the customer journey. Starting with the notification of injuries. These can be completed online via EML or the icare websites. The portal is accessible to employers, workers and other stakeholders. If you have a broker or advisor who does assist you with that, they'll be able to continue to do those notifications on the portal on your behalf. But all employers will need to verify every injury that is notified. Currently, we have around 95% of notifications coming from employers. From 1 January, the triage engine will determine the best level of care based on the initial input fields and information collected. And this will ensure each claim goes to the right team and the right individual. If the triage engine does not have the adequate information, the triage specialist will intervene and assess the notification. Emails will be sent to you and the worker to confirm the notification has been received and to expect contact with us over the next couple of days. For most claims, provisional liability will be accepted unless an employer indicates there are concerns with how the injury has occurred. Once the worker has recovered, they will receive a call and a letter, as well as an email asking about their experience. We're keen to continually improve our service, so this feedback will be valuable. Okay, so we'll now put up 3 of the most common questions that our employers have had in the areas of lodgement, triage, liability and approvals. In the meantime, feel free to send through any of your own questions. I'd like to introduce Andrew Reeve, who'll be asking questions on your behalf. So Andrew, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ben. So our first question, well, our frequently asked questions, and yes, this is the opportunity, please, to send your own personal questions in. On the right-hand side of your webinar, you should see the question screen. First question, can you please explain more about the triage process?
Definitely. Thanks, Andrew. There's quite a lot of interest in this area. So triage really allows us to determine whether it's a simple claim that we're dealing with, in which case it will be handled with empathy by a claims advisor in our support centre, or it may be completed by a notifier without any contact at all. If it is a more complex claim, it will be directed to a one-on-one case management specialist for that dedicated case management service. If there are no risk factors present in the claim, this will be managed through our support centre team, which streamlines the claims process. So they'll all be responsible for making sure that each customer receives the care and support that they need. If the injury is more serious or there are factors that may lead to a delayed return to work, then the claim will be managed by an appropriate case management specialist with the skills to support employers and workers with recovery from injury and return to work.
Thank you. The next question. How can I be confident that complex claims are being managed by the right person?
This is a very fair question. I'll put up a slide here to show you who's in our new model. A common misconception is that the new model won't have that one dedicated person who understands an employer's business. So there'll be claims advisors who will help to manage the more simple claims and support people who want assistance in lodging claims and have any queries. They'll provide any support needed through that support centre. There's case management specialists, and they'll be dedicated to the more complex claims, seeing them through the life of the claim as well. As I mentioned before, that we have the triage specialists, and they help it to make sure that the claim is receiving the right level of care and whatever the worker needs at notification and throughout the life of the claim is provided. Additionally, we will have staff to manage the process flow and ensure timely communication. For general inquiries from 1 January, you can speak to one of your brokers or advisors if you have one. And we've also put up a PDF here, which you'll find on your control panel, which has the email and icare contact details, so you're welcome to put any queries through to that as well. In relation to complex claims, there will be a dedicated case management specialist who'll see you and your worker through from notification through to return to work and recovery. If you have any other complex claims during this period that need the same level of support, they'll also be managed by the same case management specialist. Simple injuries will be managed by the quick chat with the claims advisor in the support centre, making sure everything is there that they need to help them with their recovery. And we've developed a really comprehensive training component to ensure that these claims advisors are able to come up to speed quickly on the worker and the client before they speak to you as well. So if you don't get a chance to read all of the slides, we will be providing all of this information up a bit later.
Okay. Thanks, Jen. So our third frequently asked question. This is about liability and if it gets accepted and new information arrives. So what happens then?
Yes, so the most significant change to the initial liability process will be that provisional liability will be accepted very quickly for injuries that are low risk and where the employer agrees that the injury is the result of work. Where there is more complexity associated with the claim or the circumstances of the injury, a case management specialist will be supported by a technical specialist to make the most appropriate liability decision at that initial stage. Full acceptance of liability will occur when the injury is more significant and there is sufficient information to make a soundly based decision. But each liability decision will take into account the individual circumstances of the claim.
Thanks, Tim. This is our fourth and final question. And yes, please, I'm getting some questions, and please feel free to keep sending your questions in, and we'll get to them in a minute. The last one, how do I lodge a claim?
This is a great question, and we'll actually be demonstrating this very shortly for you. But firstly, employers or third parties, workers as well, they can all notify us of the injuries 24 hours a day through that online portal. They'll also have the ability to contact our support centre from 7 AM to 7 PM, Monday to Friday. If you prefer, you can continue to use your current and preferred methods of injury notification, including things like email, fax and post. So we've got all the details up there for you, and yeah, whatever you do prefer with your notifications, we'll continue to make that.
All right, so before we take a question from the floor, we're going to demonstrate our new online claims notification system, which will of course be live on the 1st of January. So I invite Emma Rackley to take us through the system.
Great, thanks Andrew. We'll just bring that up. Okay, you can see here that I can lodge a claim as an employer, which as we've mentioned is how 95% of claims are lodged. A claim can also be lodged by an injured worker, or indeed somebody else on behalf of the injured worker or employer, such as a doctor or a broker. Okay, so if the notification is completed by another party before accepting the claim, currently around 5% of the claims, you as the employer will be our first point of contact in order to verify that the injury notification and details are correct. So using the form is very simple. It uses conditional logic to expand and contract, so the user is only required to fill out fields that are relevant to their situation. For example, if no time has been lost, questions relating to PR won't be shown. The mandatory questions, meanwhile, are signalled with an asterisk. As we start to scroll down, you can see the range of questions as well as the simplified format. You can also see that each input field has a question toggle that describes what's needed in more detail. We've simplified the injury notification to give you a broad range of options to select from, which means that the notifier doesn't have to spend time working out what to place in the fields. With each injury, we've enabled the system to narrow it down. This provides us with valuable information that helps us determine the level of care required for each worker. While you can notify us when there are multiple injuries in the one claim, you can't bulk notify separate claims on a single form. But what you can do is lodge the claims one after the other. The process shouldn't take more than 10 minutes or so for each. If you don't have all of the necessary information at the time of lodgement, such as a certificate of capacity or wage information, that's no problem. We can provide you with an email to assist you in re-accessing your notification easily when you're ready to complete the process. So in just a few easy steps, we can submit the notification, and once it's submitted, you'll immediately receive a reference number, which will also be the claim number if the notification progresses to a claim.
Thanks, Emma. Injuries with no time lost make up 48% of all claims, so we anticipate that this practical approach will save everyone a lot of time and effort in collecting and reviewing information. Of course, we understand that some notifiers still prefer to call to speak about the claim in person, which is perfectly fine. From 1 January, you can phone our support centre on 13 77 22, and one of our claims advisors will help you notify the injury and also assist with any other queries that you have.
We're also planning on adding more functionality to the claims portal over the year. We'll talk about that a little later on in the webinar. Now we'll answer some of the questions that you have been asking about lodgement, triage, liability and approvals. Andrew, would you mind reading the first question?
Good morning, please, Sally. So the first question is here from Liz. New claims, those lodged on or after 1 January 2018, or those where the injury occurred on or after 1 January 2018?
Thanks for that question. It is important to clarify this because it is working a little bit different compared to how it has in the past, if you've ever moved from one scheme agent to another. We will be basing the new claims model on date of notification rather than date of injury. This is to make it as simple as possible and to have a very clear cut-off date for what is managed under our existing claims service models with our 3 scheme agents and what will be managed with the EML and icare new service delivery model. So the notification date, in case you missed that, is the relevant date for the transfer of claims to the management of new claims from EML. So for example, if there was an injury that occurred on the 28th of December at the end of this year and you notify it after the New Year's long weekend, then that would be notified with EML, not with your existing scheme agent if you're with someone else at the moment.
Thank you, Sally. Next question's come in from Christina. How do I get my login details for the email website?
I can probably take that one. So login details won't be required at the moment. At the moment, our portal does not require authentication. However, when we build that out later in the year and we have information accessible to look at claims information, we will be building in security protocols and authentication as part of that process. But you won't need any authentication details or login details when you first use the portal to notify a claim.
Okay. Thanks, Sally. Next question has come in. This one's from Julie. Can we remain with Allianz? So that's, I guess, be taken as a broader question. Can we say where we are with all scheme agents?
So, Julie, what we're moving to is icare is the insurer for the nominal insurer. All of the policies are now with icare. There are some exceptions to that. We do have some self and specialised insurers in New South Wales that aren't associated with icare, and those arrangements stay as they are right now. For anyone who is with nominal insurer, the claims will be managed with EML from the 1st of January. There are some very specific exclusions to that to allow transfer to happen at a slightly different date. That really applies to very large employers, and if you're one of those employers, you will already have those details.
Okay, thank you, Zoe. This question about provisional liability, just a bit more detail is required. So you've mentioned that provisional liability is accepted unless the customer identifies concerns. Can you expand on this a bit more, please?
Sure. So provisional liability is fairly unique in the New South Wales legislation. I think that no other state in New South Wales has a provision in the legislation to allow for provisional acceptance of claims. This is essentially a mechanism which allows us to provide early intervention and support to workers and to employers to assist with early treatment and return to work. It doesn't mean that we have accepted liability for the claim outright, and there will still be some investigations that occur before liability is accepted formally. When we say we'll be automatically accepting provisional liability, there are a lot of business rules that go around that. So what will be happening is that very soon after after injury notification occurs, we'll be contacting the employer and the worker to verify the injury details and to confirm that the employer is aware that the incident did in fact happen at work. Once we've got that information, our aim is to approve provisional liability very quickly to allow that support to occur. For claims where liability determination is more complex, this includes nature and conditions claims and also mental health claims. They will come to a person to assess the circumstances and make an appropriate initial liability decision. That's no different to the process that happens now.
Okay. Hopefully a very simple, quick question here from Justine. Are claims advisors based in Australia or has this been outsourced internationally?
Claims advisors are definitely based in Australia. Actually, specifically, they're based in Newcastle and Parramatta. So, as far as I'm aware, we haven't separated off from Newcastle or the Hunter Valley quite yet, although they are a little bit different from Sydney up there, and I think we've got a few icare staff up there who say it's an absolutely brilliant place to live. So we have a team up in Newcastle who have been on the floor since about October, going through a lot of training, customer service training, and also technical workers insurance training to be ready for you on day one. We're also having a second site in Parramatta, so we're not restricted to one single location.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Question I could probably easily answer. This one's from Liz. Will you be emailing the presentation to everyone? We will be putting the presentation, recording the presentation, and the presentation will be sitting on our website. We want to send out, I guess, an email to all attendees, making sure that you have the link or URL to that website, where you obviously see more information beyond the recorded webinar. So that will be happening straight afterwards as well. So a question from Marnie. What is the time period from injury that we must lodge a claim within?
Good question, Marnie. So this requirement actually hasn't changed. This is actually a regulatory requirement that is within the legislation, so it's not a timeframe that's set by icare, it's a timeframe that's set by CIRA. The timeframe at the moment is, I believe, 5 days from the date that the employer is notified of the injury to when you need to advise your insurer. If you notify after this date, that's a process that can still occur, but there may be claims excess that's applied to that claim that you'll need to pay.
Great, some good questions are coming in, so thank you for that. This one's from Melissa. Will we have the same claims advisors looking after claims for our business, low risk claims basically, question?
Sure. So for low risk claims, we'll be aligning the teams up in the support centre to look after particular types of employers. They will be working in a team-based environment. This is to make sure that we don't have issues when someone is calling about a low-risk claim and just wants a quick answer. Avoid issues by having people out at lunch or on leave, etc. In working in a team-based environment, which means that you could be talking to more than one person about that claim, it does mean that you'll always be able to get an answer. So instead of relying on one person being in the office when you're wanting an answer on something, you'll be talking to a team. Everyone in that team will be authorised to talk to you, will know about the claim, will know about your business, and will be able to give you answers on that claim on the spot.
Thank you. There's a question from Jody. They have in their organisation an internal incident form which they just send in by email. So the question is, do we have to notify via portal because we just normally email this form?
Yep. So notifying us via email is still absolutely an option. You can choose to do that if you wish. The benefits of notifying either via the portal or via phone is that you will get an immediate injury notification number that you can then use, or you can give the worker as a reference number, which will become their claim number. They can use that to quote to the GP when they go in for an appointment, or the physiotherapist, etc. If you send in an email notification with an attachment of your own instant notification form, that's absolutely fine. We will be rekeying that data into the system, and once that rekeying has been completed, then you will get your injury notification number. So the only difference really is a little bit of a time delay in terms of when you'll get the notification number. And we're talking, you know, same or next business day, not a long time later.
Still got some great questions coming in. Thanks for this. So this one from Sonia. We'll wear out Zoe's voice. How can an employer request a particular rehabilitation provider to handle their claim?
That's an easy question to answer. Thank you for that one. It's my last one before my voice gives out. So rehabilitation providers, we know, have established some really good relationships with employers, and we really want that to continue. So if you have a preferred rehabilitation provider, that's something that you should talk to the claims advisor or the case management specialist about. If you wish to use that provider for all of your claims that require that sort of service, then we can mark that across to your client record on our system, so we know that for any future claims that come through, to talk to you about using that provider.
Thank you. So there's a few more questions here. Of course, we'll have a break. We'll go on to the next chapter and we'll come back to your questions after.
Okay, so the second chapter that we're focusing on will be around service expectations and key contacts. We had a few questions on that before, and hopefully the next chapter will give you some more clarity on those aspects as well. So we've put up the 3 questions that have been most common from you in this section, and please feel free to send through any other ones that you do have on service expectations and key contacts.
All right. Thank you, Sim. So the first question, I heard you're building a call centre. How will claims management work in this environment?
Okay, so this is the team that we've mentioned a few times today. It's our support centre up in Newcastle, and there'll be one in Parramatta as well. So we're creating a centre here to provide holistic support rather than just simply taking calls. We really like to emphasise here that the purpose of the support centre is to help you, our customers. The support centre will be staffed by claims advisors who will complete the claims activities for injuries that are expected to have 4 to 6 weeks away from work. Claims advisors will have the skills and authority to respond to any requests coming into the support centre by phone, email and in writing. They'll be also making outbound calls and contact with you and the worker and other key stakeholders to ensure that recovery and return to work is on track and occurring as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Sim. Next question. Again, we've kind of touched on this already. Will I have one dedicated case manager who can manage my portfolio of claims?
So our service model is a little different from what the scheme has experienced in the past. We're focusing on allocating claims by ensuring the right level of care and service is given to each individual and each claim. So the simpler claims, for example, medical only, frank incidents and low risk injuries, where full recovery is most likely, they'll be managed by qualified, empathetic claims advisors in the support centre, where the focus is on the customer. The main benefits to this change are that claims will be simpler to lodge and complete, and low impact claims will have far less red tape, so we can get things moving a lot quicker, get towards that recovery and return to work a lot faster as well. For more complex claims, there'll be a sample of characteristics that would best describe a complex claim, and there'll be one dedicated case management specialist who will be responsible for the claim through to recovery. We're currently looking at technology which will allow us to bundle claims and direct claims to specific case management specialists. If, for example, though, if you do have a current claim sitting there with a case management specialist and any new claim comes in that requires that same level of care and support, that will go to the same person, so you'll have that one contact there.
All right. Thank you, Sim. And our third question around service expectations and key contacts. How will you ensure you recruit the right staff and have they have the capability and the service ethic?
Thanks, Andrew. This has been a real focus for us. We've undertaken very thorough recruitment and onboarding process with our staff to ensure that they do have that capability and the service ethic to deliver the new service model. So icare and EML have been collaboratively recruiting these new staff, incorporating screening for cultural fit, psychometric testing, assessment centres, and also the traditional behavioural interviews. The team in the support centre is rapidly building and has been undergoing extensive training and testing of the new model and processes in the recent weeks. It's a real terrific group of people with a strong customer service ethic, and our numbers will continue to ramp up across the support centre and also the case management specialists. As the year goes through and we get more claims coming through, we'll need to build the service model to increase in our staff numbers to make sure that that we've got enough support and assistance there to manage each of the claims and the service level that they need.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so our questions regarding service expectations and other contexts you may be interested in, but please send them in. And we've still got some questions from the previous chapter. I'll ask this first one of, I think, Zoe. This is a portal question. Is this an EML portal or an icare portal?
So the portal has been built in collaboration between EML and icare. We have had staff from both organisations involved in the design and build. The portal will be branded EML because EML is the partner that we are working with to manage our claims. However, really it's a very collaborative effort. You can access the portal from either the icare website or the EML website.
Thank you, Zoe. This question is coming from Christina regarding employer contact details and making sure they're correct. So how do you confirm the correct employer contact?
Thanks, Christina. So if there has been contact details that you've advised us of in the past, they will be stored on our claims system. And we will have the opportunity for you to tell us who the best contact is at the employer when you notify the claim. So please make sure that those details are up to date. If it's a party other than the employer who is notifying us of the claim, the employer contact details will be confirmed during that first phone call. We do have your contact details from our policy system as well, but we're aware that sometimes it's not the same person who manages claims and policy details. We'll be confirming them as we go.
Financial question from Jenny. Who is responsible for last financial year's accounts after the actuals have been submitted?
Last financial year, is this potentially a question about premium, or are we asking about claims? I'm not sure if I completely understand that question, so if that person can send through some clarification.
Yeah. If you want to let us know, that would be good. We had a few questions about, can I get a recording of this? I have to leave. So yes, we'll definitely take that on notice as well. So how can we get this recording sent to you? We'll talk to the Business Chamber as well. But great to see the level of interest in getting a recording or seeing a copy of it. Okay, next question has come in from Jane. What does this mean for claims that have occurred in the past but then need to be reopened? Either an exacerbation of a pre-injury condition or claim, or re-injury of illness.
Okay, thank you for that. I apologise in advance because I'm going to get a little bit technical when I answer this question, but it sounds like the person who's asked it has a pretty good understanding of workers' comp claims, so that's good to see. What happens when someone has a similar injury or an exacerbation of an injury that's happened in the past is that if it is clear that the exacerbation is really a flare-up of symptoms that can be attributed to a prior incident or claim, that will be reopened on the existing claims side. So if your current policy is, for example, with GIO, and you have a worker who has a closed claim at the moment, and next year in February they say, my knee's hurting again, it's the old injury that's flared up, and nothing else has happened at work to make that injury worse, then that would go back to GIO to manage that claim. We do have a technical distinction between that and something that's called an aggravation. So if it's an aggravation, that will go to EML to manage, and that means that there's been a new incident that occurred. So you might have had an old knee claim, but someone's fallen over and at work again and has injured the same knee. That would be considered a new claim, and that would be managed by EML. So apologies for getting a little bit technical with that answer, but it was hard to answer it without going into that level of detail.
Good, thank you. Hopefully a much easier one, a question about certificate of capacity. Is the need for certificate of capacity from treating doctors still required from John?
Thanks, John. So certificate of capacity is required in accordance with the legislation. So there is no change to the legislation around certificate of capacity. CIRA is responsible for the format of the certificate of capacity, and yes, we will still need a certificate of capacity to be completed by the doctor, so we know what sorts of restrictions are required for the person when they come back to work, whether there is any time off required, and what treatment recommendations the doctor has made.
Thank you, Zoe. A question about PRE. How will and who will calculate PRE?
Goodness, thankfully not me, and you wouldn't want me to. We are aware that PRE is a really complex part of the legislation, and we've been working internally within icare and also with all of our scheme agents to make sure that the level of competence and confidence in calculating PRE within the scheme is improved. PRE calculations will be conducted by EML as part of the overall claims management. If there are disputes in relation to PRE that can't be resolved by EML, these will be escalated to icare, and we have specialists within the icare team who will look at them.
Okay, this might be a question of Sim. We currently use a carbonised injury notification book in our location that is supplied by Allianz. Will EML have a similar resource available, like injury notification books?
I believe that we do, but I will look into that for you and grab your details off Andrew and get you formal confirmation. But last I heard and saw, we did have those as well. Yeah, for first aid recording and things like that. So, yeah.
Okay. Question from Melissa. For serious injury and or fatality, does the initial notification change?
Good question. So the notification process doesn't change for serious injuries. You go through exactly the same notification process and you have the same options available to you. There are actually questions in the portal which ask whether the person has multiple injuries and also whether the person is still in hospital at the time of notification. That gives us a trigger to indicate that that claim might be high risk, and you'll have a call either from a case management specialist or a triage specialist to find out a little bit more detail about how serious that injury is and whether it actually needs to go to a specialised team to manage because of the complexity around that injury. Fatality notification and email and post if you wish to. We aren't having fatality notifications available on the notification portal on day one. They will be available in a later release of the portal. There are very clear contact details, and there's also a PDF form that you can download if you are in the sad situation of having to notify us of a fatality that's occurred at work. So that notification form is available on the EML and the icare website.
Thank you, Zoe. So we might move on to the next chapter, and yes, we've still got a few questions to go. This is great. So things are, and the appreciation we're seeing as well that's coming in with the questions. So we appreciate it.
Okay, so the 1st of January marks the beginning of a new claims journey for all of us. Later in 2018, we'll also be launching a new portal with far greater functionality. But we've arranged for a number of key improvements to greet you when you do lodge a new claim from 1 January. Zoe, can you take us through some of these key improvements?
Sure. Hopefully the first thing that you'll notice is the empathetic and caring nature of our claims staff. We've been committed and determined in our search to find the right people to support you and the new model in 2018. We've set a very high benchmark in our recruitment drive, and this has absolutely paid off. I've met most of our new employees so far, and they're an impressive set of ambassadors for our new service model. Our first staff started their onboarding and training in early October this year. The communications we'll be sending you will be easier to understand and respond to. We'll also have quick acceptance for agreed work injuries. Our dispute processes have improved, and you'll find that they have a high level of transparency.
Thanks, Zoe. We're going to now move on to our final chapter, which is focused on systems, reporting, access to information, and other stakeholders. Andrew, can you take us through some of the key questions that have been coming into this, or have previously come into this? Yeah.
We've got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I think I might ask a question regarding a rehab question, actually. So this one's from Tessa. What happens if you feel like your injured worker is not complying to the rehab plan, even after being advised of the importance to do so?
Hi, Tessa. We understand that there are a small number of workers who find it difficult to cooperate with the plans that have been set. The first step is really understanding why it is that we have disagreement about cooperating with the return to work and the injury management plan. We will also be able to follow up to ensure that everything is in place to make sure that the worker is supported to return to work. If we've gone through all of those steps and we have someone who is just for whatever reason not participating in accordance with their responsibilities under the legislation, then we still do have a legislative framework available that allows us to suspend benefits. We very much see this as a last resort, and we really do want to focus on getting collaboration and agreement to the injury management plan and follow through with that before we go to the last resort of suspension or termination of benefits.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll get to this frequently asked question.
Great.
Will this new service line result in a decrease in my premium?
Given there will be a high level of automation and less need for FTEs, the claims model is really designed to improve the return to work outcomes. So with that, we will see an overall improvement in the performance through the workers' insurance system. This has the potential to lead to a decrease in premium. However, there are a number of other factors involved, and it's quite a complicated review process for that. So premium calculation can be discussed with your relationship manager or underwriting if you do have any questions. So.
Next question, will I have real-time access to data?
So that won't be available from 1st of January, but it is kind of a range of upgrades that we're working towards to introduce later in the year. And those upgrades will allow you to fully manage the claim through an online portal as well, so you have access to that later on in the year.
And can I still use microverb providers? We've had a provider question already, but
yep.
Too much?
Yeah, so to clarify that, so preferred occupational rehab providers, there doesn't need to be a change to that arrangement. For your legal and investigation providers, we'll work with you to identify the best providers to use for the individual claim, taking into consideration your preferences and also the established icare panel. So referring to the providers on the icare panel really ensures that there's consistency in the services provided and quality of reports across the scheme as well. So it's really important that we continue to use that.
Okay, so now over to any other questions that you have about systems, reporting, access to information and other stakeholders in the scheme.
This is a question related to reporting, claims reviews. Will we have claims reviews anymore now that we don't have a dedicated team?
Okay, thank you for that one. Yes, you will still be able to have claims reviews. So we will work with you on a one-on-one basis to make sure that we're meeting your individual needs. We're trying to move away from the idea that there is a one-size-fits-all model for each client. If you only have one open claim, it will be enough to talk to the claim owner and the team about how that claim is progressing. If you have multiple claims open at the same time, we understand that there can sometimes be a need to discuss those claims as a whole, either over the phone or face-to-face, and we're looking at working with each employer where there's an identified need for a claims review. So yes, these can continue.
Thank you, Zoe. And a question rather Zoe or Tim, a question around EML's ongoing support. So a question, does EML provide posters for recovery at work, etc.? Do they provide training courses on claims management for employers? Question from Katrina.
Yeah, we do have a suite of resources available. So if you let us know exactly what you need, we'll be able to arrange that for you. We do have different training, so a national training calendar as well that goes out annually, and that will include different face-to-face courses that you can do and some online learning as well. We have 13 complementary courses that cover things like work health and safety, bullying and harassment awareness, contractor management, those types of things as well. So if you do need any more information, please just let us know your specific needs and we'll be able to get back to you after the webinar on that.
There's also a range of icare posters and that sort of thing that are being developed. So some of you may have had access to some of them already. But there will be a combined effort between EML and icare on some of that stuff.
Question regarding, I think, providers, a panel question. How will you distribute claims amongst your panel of preferred providers with icare? How many companies are on this panel?
Mm-hmm. I might have to take that question on notice. I'm not confident about the exact numbers of providers that are on the icare panel. We have established the panel really to make sure that we have consistent service and everyone knows what the expectations are for providers and the provision of services in the scheme. In terms of distribution of work amongst providers, we're specifically rehab providers, we're working through this. We do want to respect employer preferences in terms of choice of rehab provider, we're also asking rehab providers to provide us with details of what services they can offer. We have sent an email out to all of our rehab providers to specifically ask whether they've got skills in mental health and complex injuries, for example. So that's something that we will be working through in 2018 and will continue to evolve.
Thank you, Zoe. I've just looked at the watch. We might need to move on. So there are a few questions we're not going to get to. We will, therefore, by default, attempt to, I guess, theme them and answer them as FAQs on the website. There are still questions regarding the portal. Do we have to use it, and or do we have to use forms? Just definitely confirming all channels are available. There's online notification form plus.
Yes. So to absolutely make it very clear on the portal, you do not have to use the portal if you don't want to. It is a choice that you have to use the portal. There are some benefits to that, and providing us information through the portal does give us a lot of information that helps us start to manage the claim and determine the risk on that claim. However, if you choose to make a claim via phone or email or fax, then that information will still be gathered by us, and we'll still manage the claim with the same degree of support.
Great. Thanks, everyone. That concludes the question and answer portion of the webinar. Please make sure you visit the website, which is full of new content about the changes in workers' claims, and the details are on the slide there as well for you. So we have some more information to share with you before we do say goodbye today, and we do want to encourage you all to fill out a short survey at the end, which you'll get as you exit the webinar.
So as we've mentioned, icare will launch its next release of the portal and the new claims management system during 2018. So let's take a look at the further changes that are coming. The enhanced portal will mean customers are able to view their policy and claims in one place. You'll be able to track the progress of an individual claim, provide further information relevant to the claim, submit payment requests, and track when those payments are made. Building on feedback that was provided by employers in our July workshops, we are designing our processes, team structures and systems to ensure you get access as much as possible to the same claims advisors you've spoken to in the past. For example, sophisticated call routing will be available through our telephony system that will direct return calls back to the original claims advisor in the support centre. The new claims management system is a fully integrated solution that will enable automatic approval of treatment requests for non-complex claims, validated using a claims support tool, and will provide a rich data source across the scheme, giving us the ability to identify continuous improvement opportunities to the claims management lifecycle. Okay, so now you'll see a downloadable PDF on your control panel. It's a summary of the major changes that are taking place in workers' insurance from the 1st of January next year, which we took you through at the beginning of the webinar. Please feel free to download this and share it with anyone in your team who might benefit from seeing it. Thank you to everyone for attending and listening to us today. We hope that the session has answered any outstanding queries you've had about our service and that you're now looking forward to what's coming in 2018. I know that there are some questions outstanding, and we'll endeavour to get back to you on these. We've taken you through the nuts and bolts of the service model, we've shown you what to expect on January 1st and beyond, and we've answered your many and varied questions. We have a downloadable PDF with key details of what we've spoken about today, and you can visit our website to get further information. Thank you everyone, and have a great day.
Goodbye everyone. Thank you for your participation and engagement today and helping to make this webinar as informative and valuable as possible.
Thank you, Simone and Zoe, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar about icare's new claim service model. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a short survey on the presentation, and we would appreciate if you would complete that and provide your feedback. You'll also receive a follow-up email with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. On behalf of icare and EML and our presenters, thank you for joining us today. We'd also like to thank the New South Wales Business Chamber for their assistance in extending the invitation to you all. Have a great rest of your day.